Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Daniel Walkoff, President and CEO of Envision Networks. I want to welcome you to today's webinar. It is Coffee with Envision, and today we present Programming a Winning Morning Show. What we'll cover today is a makeup of a good morning show. We'll talk a little bit about the mistakes to avoid when you're programming the morning show. We'll certainly go over the best resources and things to use when planning the morning show. And of course, I want to remind everyone that the session is being recorded. And for everyone who is on the webinar and those who cannot make it, we will send out a follow-up recording for people to be able to hear and share with others. I do want to remind you that we'll take questions, and you can contact us through social media throughout the presentation. On Twitter, it's @Envision News, and if you're going to go to Facebook, it's facebook.com/Go Envision Networks. So that's the best way to send your questions as we go throughout the session here. I do want to introduce today's moderators. We do have on here Jason Hillary, who is creator of A Mirror Country and Radio Playbook. He's also the operations manager for Midwest Communications, located in Green Bay. And we have Mike Marino, who is the creator and the originator of the Bid Exchange and the Rooster, the Jammin' format. He's a former PD of both Hot and Star in LA, and also KMXB, the Mix in Vegas. So both of these gentlemen have done a tremendous amount of creating, writing, producing, and putting together morning shows throughout the country, and they've done it for years. So I think we have two of the most well-known and experts ready to present for today. So no further ado, I'll turn it over. Let's welcome both Jason and Mike, and I'll let you guys take it away.
Sounds good. Thanks a lot, Dan. I'll welcome everybody on to today's webinar. I'm Jason. Mike is on here as well, and we're going to go through some of the things that we think make up a really good morning show. We're also going to talk about some things that not necessarily make up a bad morning show, but things that morning shows might be doing wrong. So we're going to start with what makes a good morning show, and these I think are some of the more famous bullet points. Obviously, the first one is having balance. I mean, balance is key in anything, whether it's whether it's life or whether it's your morning show. Your content's got to be well-rounded. It's got to be a good balance of news and topics and bits and callers and lifestyle elements. And you really got to look at the quarter hours each day. If you do a funny topic at 7:30 on Monday, maybe on Tuesday you try to hit a different emotion at 7:30. Balance and variety are really the key to getting and keeping people's attention these days. They still like to be surprised. And going through that range of emotions is going to do that for you. Picking the right content, definitely key. Looking for things that fit your personal brand and your audience. Hopefully you've got a personal brand. If you don't, it's time to start thinking about how to develop that. You know the vibe of your morning show better than anybody else. So seek out that content that fits that vibe and furthers your brand. I will warn you though, going into the same well over and over again isn't necessarily going to be a good thing. You don't want to be that one-trick pony morning show. Again, content mix is important, but so is picking the stuff that's going to highlight and strengthen your brand.
I would like to add in the concept of being relevant, relatable, and consistent. This is Mike, by the way. Hello, everyone. It's important not only to be relevant in terms of being current, and generally you've all heard about what's hot in pop culture, what's trending. I'd like to remind you that you should look at what's trending nationally and locally as well. And being consistent, going back to the balance and picking the right content, your show should deliver on a daily basis. There's no winging it. Those days are over because the competitive situation, the landscape has changed. You won't win being funny one day a week, and you won't win tapping into emotions one quarter hour per week. You've got so many people and so many competitors right now, either online, on TV, morning TV, as you know, podcasts, in life, all these streaming systems that are out there now that are taking listeners away from you. So the art of being consistent is a challenge, but it should influence the way you prep and execute your show every day. Quarter-hour maintenance, quarter-hour balance, specific content. We'll get to benchmarks later on, but you should look at your clock and think about how you're tapping into every emotion every day, and sometimes floating the emotions that you tap into throughout the hours.
And that kind of goes back to, being yourself and taking a stand for something, be at odds. You got to have a difference of opinion, especially when it comes to topics on your show. Again, we talk a lot about being a one-trick pony. You don't want to do that. If everyone on the show takes the same side, then you're going to have this huge portion of your audience that's going to feel like you're not even speaking to them. And again, it's all about being relatable. Again, there's that word. And having someone take a stand opposite of everybody else on the show is going to create some odds, going to create some drama, and again, create more of a cool listening experience for people. And along that line goes to developing characters. Your show should consist of a cast of characters. I mean, everybody should really know their role. And hopefully when you put the show together from the beginning, this was already something that was kept in mind. I mean, it goes back to, again, being yourself, finding people to fit roles. And ones that actually live that role is better than trying to find someone who can come in and just fake it for 4 hours every single day. So developing characters is key. And then, I ask every air talent that I work with, I ask them, what are you famous for? If they don't have something that they're already famous for, we work to give them one. Some people are famous for having that great voice. Some are famous for their heritage, being on the air for 25 years. Some are famous for a stunt or a bit they do. Some are famous for phone scams, and some are famous for the fact that they're on the streets every day and they're out in public. Finding that one thing that you're famous for is key. And it's an old school philosophy, but it still holds water. Benchmarks. People are creatures of habit, and they like things that are familiar. It's why type playlists and trivia games on the air still win. So if you're not doing consistent benchmarks, find some things that you can work into your schedule every single day, because they are really, really super important. So along with the things that make morning shows great, we're going to go through some things that we think that your morning show could be doing wrong.
First thing, of course, on the air is not having a plan. And that's what I mentioned before. You've heard it time and time again. You can't wing it. Not having some sort of idea of where you're going to be going, you'll end in failure, because you'll end up babbling and then people won't grasp what it is. Your character role playing will fail. The entire concept of the show, the emotions won't be tapped into. You just won't be relevant. You won't be relatable, and you won't be consistent. I mean, you just won't be providing the entertainment value that the audience comes to you every day for, and you'll be lacking. And Jason?
So after the show is a big thing, and I think the biggest thing that Mike and I probably hear from all the morning shows that we deal with all across the country, it's the same thing, that the PDs aren't air checking us. We think that we're doing the right thing, but nobody really gives us very much feedback. That's a big thing. So not air checking yourself and not checking yourself on a daily basis can be a huge mistake. Look at your show from all aspects. Take an inventory. How was the balance today? How many songs did we get in? How long were our talk breaks? What did we miss? Have meetings with everybody on the show. That's an important one. Kind of go back through what happened, what you're going to do for tomorrow. Write more. It's great to have a prep service, and we can provide a whole bunch of stuff for you, but it's always important to come up and with stuff and write stuff on your own too. Again, nobody knows your show as good as you. And then do more promos. You can never have enough morning show promos, and promos with audio from your show, by the way. Especially over long weekends and things, wherever you can put a morning show promo, I would do it.
I would add that the promos actually enhance your interaction with the audience as well. You guys should have a list of quote unquote ringers, callers that you can call on every day, that you can interact with based on topic starters, based on what's hot in pop culture. Someone could have been arrested overnight. Calling one of these ringers that you have, it could be a local police officer. It could be, if it's a medical question, it could be a local doctor. If it's a sports question, it could be the local sports editor at the newspaper. Any kind of interaction that you can have with your audience, and then obviously highlight afterwards through promos, through podcasts. That just shows that you are embracing the marketplace and you're interacting with what's hot in the world, or what's hot locally and nationally.
One more thing I wanted to add to that too is a lot of people have text in lines now, and those are great. What I would say is, if you got a text in line and people are texting in about stuff you're talking about, if you got a really good one, text them back and say, hey, can I call you in 3 minutes and put you on the air? Chances are they're going to say yeah. But that's kind of a good way to screen some people as well. Social media is another place that a lot of shows end up falling short. I mean, you got to embrace it. It's where your audience is. You got to look at it as the biggest festival of the year, but every single hour of every single day. I mean, it's a huge deal. I mean, you look at late night TV, people are able to keep up with Fallon and James Corden without even watching the show. I mean, they know what these guys are famous for because they're picking amazing content to be social with. And that's what you got to do with your show. You got to go out and do as much, Facebook Live and as many cool videos, and it's got to be stuff that has merit. Some client that brings in, subs and you're on Facebook Live eating some subs talking about how great they are, that doesn't have merit, unless the client makes dog food and you're going to try some dog food. Now that might actually end up having some merit, but again, look for things that can be social specific. And one thing I will tell you, because we just did a focus group on social media, the biggest one that came out of that is Instagram stories. The 18 to 34-year-olds are kind of over Snapchat, almost over Snapchat. They're over Facebook for sure. Instagram and Instagram stories are super hot, so be there.
Where are we on the mission? Are you covering that one, Jason? Sorry.
You can talk about understanding the mission. That's like one of your big mantras. We'll let you do that one.
Okay. Well, the mission should include goals, and those goals should include ratings and revenue. And this is why you got hired to be part of your radio station, because the radio station itself had its own goals of ratings and revenue. But they understood the core demo, they understood the P1s, the P2s, and P3s, and hopefully you understand that same mission, and it's been explained to you, and that's why you were hired, because your talent and your skill set enhances the sounds of the radio station and creates a feature that moves the station towards goals achieved, ratings, revenue, and then we're going to get to going in public. Am I covering that one too, Jason, or are you covering that?
Yeah, go ahead. Go ahead.
Okay, so I wanted to tie in the interaction and the social media within public. That's where I don't get the sense that a lot of people are getting out there, and a lot of it because you guys are multitasking. There are PDs that are doing morning shows. There are jocks that are doing mornings and then afternoons on another radio station in town, sister station. I still think that you need to get out in public as much as you can, into offices, to events. Sometimes you have to create a reason to go out. Sometimes it's there for you based on what's going on nationally and locally. I think you need to make it a point because you can capture the sounds, the feel, and the emotions of your city, and then you could bring it back to the airwaves, either through your social media, through Instagram stories, as Jason just said, through more promos. If you're in the diary market, you are still on recall, and the more promos that connect you locally to the marketplace, the more times that you're likely to be mentioned in diaries. If you're a PPM, it's just more compelling content when you're out there and you bring it back to your show. I just think you need to be visible, be present on and off the air as much as you can, because all that emotion comes back to your morning show the next day.
Again, I want to remind everyone that if you have questions, again, you can hit us up at Envision News on Twitter or Facebook.com. Go Envision Networks. We'll get to those questions. We'll answer them at the end. We already had a couple of comments say that you guys are going so fast they can't take notes quick enough. So I want to remind everyone it is being recorded. No worries. We'll send you a copy. You can go back and you can pause it and listen and take your own notes. So if you can't keep up, that's okay. We'll get it to you. You'll have something to refer back to.
Well, the title of this is Coffee with Envision. We had 3 coffees before we started, so picking up the pace here. So we talked a lot about things that make a show great. We talk about things that help you win, a bunch of things that can work against you and really cause an erosion of your brand and a loss of ratings and revenue, which are all bad things. And Mike and I talk a lot about the philosophy of coaching through content, and that's where that philosophy really comes in. And we've developed Radio Playbook, which is a prep service that totally plays into the philosophies of planning and having balance and picking the right content, because we actually pick it for you every day. This website is laid out in clock form, meaning we've got all the content displayed on a linear clock, and it's placed at times and in the hours, even quarter hours, of where we think it's going to be best suited for for morning radio. And I'll let Mike talk a little bit about how the clock came to be. It was done with a lot of research on his part.
Well, it was the concept of coaching through content. I realized, again, the situation where everyone's wearing 4 or 5 different hats, being a jock and then being a programmer, being in sales meetings, promotions meetings. So the theory was, let's try and create a clock that's user-friendly, PPM influenced, and provides as much content every day for either A, the person that's too busy to prep 24/7 as morning shows need to do, or B, it's a Monday morning or it's a Friday morning and the guy just got loaded the night before and he didn't have any time to prep, so he's hungover. So we decided that let's try and do that, and we came up with the concept of, we knew where the breaks we needed to have them placed based on research, based on what we saw with PPM and diary. So that's where we started. Jason, I'm losing my voice. Go ahead.
Oh boy. See, you're the one that was out partying and hungover last night.
Yeah, that was me actually. Go ahead.
So, I guess with this concept of this clock that we put together, we know that obviously it's not going to be a perfect fit for your show. In other words, if we're putting on the clock that there's topic starters every day at 7:10 and you do yours at 7:20, that is totally fine. When we built this website, we had our web developers create it in a way that, you can go back and totally customize it for your show. The really cool thing that I like about it is we built a tablet style. So it's really super tablet and mobile friendly, so you can use it on multiple devices. I want to talk a little bit about some of the content that we provide on here. And as you can see on along the side there, you can kind of see the linear clock and the example of that, and some of the produced bits that we put on for Halloween. But we do topic starters. The cool thing about topic starters is we provide the topic starters and then give you a handful of starter callers that you can use on the air that answer the question or talk about whatever it is you're talking about. So you've got something to kind of kickstart the conversation and, again, train people to call into your show. We do original comedy bits. We do all sorts of daily audio, whether it's, sports, news, football, baseball, World Series, late show, everything you could possibly imagine. There's dozens and dozens and dozens of audio clips on there every single day. News, we do listener games. We do Showbiz 60 reports that you can play. We do those every single day and load them up on the clock. You can get those sponsored, easy peasy way to make a little dough for the station. And the thing that we've heard time and time again from morning shows that use any of our services is that they really like the way that we write. Everything is written in broadcast style, and obviously that's going to be important. Knowing that we write the way people speak should be a good thing for your morning show.
Check out those categories, huh? We wanted to create a situation where you guys can just go ahead and, because it is built for template, you can decide which categories you want to read every day based upon the type of radio station you are, the goals that you have, ratings and revenue, and the type of morning show that you are. And so if you guys are not into hard news, you can click on or unclick certain buzz categories, because you don't want to deal with politics and Trump and Russia and all that stuff. Maybe you are the showbiz person on your morning show and all you want to look at is, say, showbiz, sports, and maybe some general news. You can click and unclick. And, we have a couple of different lifestyle sections. I'm thinking about adding another one based on what's trending, maybe replacing the lounge, which is really about surveys and online type stuff, and turning that into trending. But these are things that we work on as we move along here, and we hear from people like you on what you expect to see from the prep every morning. If you're a country station and you don't care about pop, rhythm, and rock, you can uncheck. Vice versa, if you're pop and you could care less about, the country guys, you can unclick. So it's really made user-friendly for you. And again, if you're the guy that's doing so much at your radio station, this should help you create a user-friendly prep service.
And we kind of take this thing a couple of steps further because we had the web developers include a really cool back-end feature for you, the user, to use. So you can go in and add in your own content if you want. You can come in here and you can add in, maybe a story from your local newspaper, or, just leaving yourself a little note, hey, this happened to me last night. I got cut off by this guy in traffic, and this is what happened, and I want to tell the story. And boom, I want it to come up at 6:45 a.m. and then boom, it comes up on your clock at 6:45 a.m. because that's when you schedule it. You know, if you have a cool piece of audio you want to add to it as well, you can add an audio file there, an image, whatever you want. You can submit it, and it goes boom right onto your clock, which is really neat. Now, as you're going through here, and here's another example of kind of what the linear clock looks like. You know, if there's stuff that you want to, again, it's all tablet style, so you can drag and drop things around and move things around from break to break. You know, you'll notice that there are several things, you know, that we list down at 810. You don't got to do all three. You know, pick the one that best suits your show. Same thing with 825. If there's, you know, 3 or 4 of those stories that we post, and you only want to use 2, then only use 2. I mean, it's really going to come down to what you want to do. We also have shows, by the way, that use our software to plan promotions, like schedule client contests and their live read copy and all that. And you can do all of that. Let me just go back here, right through here. Got a piece of live copy that you want to read, boom, you can put it right here, schedule it on your clock, and it comes right up. Same with contests. If you got a client contest that you want to be reminded of and it doesn't start for 2 months, you can come in here and date start 2 months from now. You know, I got to do a contest at 6:45 every morning to give away, you know, a Pizza Hut pizza, and here's the copy, you know, and you can do all that right through there. So it's a really cool way to, you know, schedule out some things that you do on your morning show.
Key takeaways. Well, hopefully, you know, by now you've heard me say that you have to have a plan. Yeah, I just don't, I hear from the guys that use our prep services, a couple of them say they just go ahead and rip and read what we do. And I tell them, no, that shouldn't be your plan. Your plan should be what it is you need to accomplish locally, as well as all the national content that we provide for you. So moving to the next bullet point, picking the right content for your audience and your personal brand. We deliver the content, but that doesn't mean it's written necessarily for your personality. We'd like to think it's pretty close because we try and write broadcast style, word speak style, but you know, it's still not going to match your personality, especially if we include some sarcastic comments as well. Jason?
Yeah, we're pretty good at doing that. You know, and again, you can set up your clock based on the market, you know, your drive times, you know, times that you want to contest and high traffic times, you know, putting content where it's going to count for your show. You know, be famous for something. You know, if it's the one thing that I preach to everybody, you know, in my building, it's be famous for something. You know, if you're not, let's figure out what you can be famous for, and let's work towards doing that. And that just comes down to consistency.
Something?
Yeah.
On the be famous for something, I thought about some of the jocks that either I hired or fired, and either did made a good move for the company or a bad move. Yes, I did fire some people I shouldn't have fired. They were always famous for something before or after that. We'd have conversations, and a lot of it came from basing what they experienced in life, and bringing the sounds and feels of their own lives to the radio station. That goes back to getting out in public. Some of these guys that maybe weren't as funny on the air really married themselves into the community and became like a charity spokesperson for either a certain local cause, or they just became a bigger name because they were more involved in the community. So if you know your skill set and you know what you're really good at and what you're bad at, that helps you decide what you're going to be famous for something, because generally that tells us that you are, there are things that you are into that make you really good at what you're good at, and you should follow your interests. And by doing so, you'll end up getting out in public, and then obviously Jason will talk about social media.
Yeah, so I mean, you know, getting out in public is important. You know, I consider getting on social media out in public these days because, you know, I mean, that's again where the people are. You know, it's the biggest festival in town for you. You know, some stations have 5,000 followers, some have, you know, 100,000 followers. No matter how many you got, do some social specific content. You know, start really, you know, furthering your brand by doing some stuff on there, and you'll get more followers and you'll get more P1 listeners. And you'll get more action on your show. You know, share some of those. You know, once in a while, spend $20 and boost a post. You know, it's all worth it, all of it.
All right. I don't think we'll be able to. We have a bunch of questions, so we'll ask 2 of the questions here. So you can still submit, and we will write back to you and get you answers. But we'll only have time for about 2 questions.
Okay.
And I want to remind you that at the end that you'll get a short survey following this webinar. If you complete it, and we do want you to complete it, we appreciate your feedback, we will send you a Starbucks gift card. So take a few minutes. It's really not a long survey. Just want to know what you thought, how we're doing, and how we can do it better. So look for that in your email immediately following.
Did you want to do a couple of questions, Daniel?
Yeah, I think so. Okay, real quick here so we can wrap up. Bob asks, what time is the site put together and ready to go each day?
Well, to be honest with you, we really work on it throughout the evening. You know, it's kind of hard to pinpoint. Like last night, you know, there was unfortunately another shooting, and this one was in California. So I will tell you that, you know, Mike and I were still working and updating on that story, you know, at about 3 or 3:30 Central Time this morning. You know, we typically don't go to bed until, you know, 4 or 4:30. So I mean, it's definitely a work in progress throughout the evening and into the early morning hours, because we really want to make sure you guys have the most up-to-date stuff that you can.
And Chris asked, can you adjust the brakes on the clock? Do you have to follow what's, you know, already there, or can you move your brakes around to fit the local market?
No, you can definitely move stuff around. You can rename the brakes to, you know, stuff that you want. If you want to put them at different times and you know, move things around and move content around, you can drag and drop and do all that stuff. There's a really cool preference tab, and you know, again, if you've got you know, interest in checking it out more, you can obviously reach out to the folks at Envision and get a trial and have someone walk you through exactly how everything works.
Okay, and I want to thank you, Jason, and Mike for putting this together for us. Again, if you have any questions, you can reach us at Radio Playbook at envisionradio.com. You know, the phone number's up there, 216-831-3761. And of course, if you want to just check it out, you can go to radioplaybook.com. Again, thank you all for being here. We appreciate your time, and we look forward to seeing you at the next Coffee with Envision.